Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 151. Tonight on the cast is myself, Alex, and myself and Alex, aka Zaber Wolf. We're going to be talking about Skeleton Crew episodes 1 and 2. We're going to be talking about some Arcane season 2 and any other nerdy news in between. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Leave us a comment below if you're watching a replay. And if you're listening to us live on Spotify or Apple, maybe just leave us a review as well. That really helps us out. Without further ado, here we go. What's up, dude?
Hey, what's going on, man?
How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Just been very busy this week, so just
Work.
kind of popping in. Yeah, lots of work, trying to stream here and there, and just kind of keep consistency. And it's kind of rough, but it's
Yeah.
it's fun either way.
Yeah. I had a busy week last week. I've got a very busy week coming up tomorrow, starting tomorrow. I'm going to be on a client site like for the entire week, full days. So it's up early every morning, kind of out the door for the day. While it's tough, I get paid like expenses for travel and stuff, and they pay for my lunches. So there's benefits to it, but it's still tough
Mhm.
getting out of bed early every morning. Um, Gaming's been going good. There's been a lot kind of going on with the release of like Marvel Rivals and Fortnite OG, and COD has a new zombie map, and I just feel like there's actually so much going on in gaming right now that I feel like I can't even really keep up. Like it's ridiculous. Like I want to try and get back into Black Myth Wukong, and there's a couple of other games I want to try as well. I just feel like I don't have enough time. It's crazy.
Mhm.
And I'm streaming 4 nights a week, sometimes more. So it's tough, man. It's tough to get it. It's tough to get it all in there, especially when you've got like a family as well, young kids in the house as well. So at most I get to game for like maybe 4 hours, 4 nights a week. So
Mhm.
getting the stuff in is not easy. Um, this week we got Skeleton Crew. It's a new Star Wars show. I understand you haven't seen it yet, but what I'll do is I'll give my initial thoughts on it. I haven't really aired these thoughts anywhere, and I'll kind of keep it as spoiler free as possible. To be honest, not a crazy amount happens in the first two episodes. I could probably describe what happens in the first two episodes, and it'll probably just intrigue you to maybe watch it.
Mhm.
Um, did you watch any of Arcane season two?
No, no, I haven't had a chance to watch either. It's very rough for me right now for me to actually get into other shows at the moment because like I stated before, I got Katie to watch like all of the episodes of One Piece up to the most recent episode, and as a promise, I told her that I would not suggest any other animes for until she was done with the list that she wanted me to watch of things that on her accord. So
So what has she
basically,
got you watching?
she's got me watching Justified.
Oh
We
yeah,
also watched a bit of Barry and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So like
she's got
those
good
are
taste.
yeah, well, I mean, we never watched Barry before. Like she'd never seen it, so
Yeah.
and she'd never seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I haven't either. So like it was something that we were both kind of like, you know what, let's give it a shot. Let's see what what we can get into. Let's see what we like, and hopefully it's a good show. And when it comes to Barry, it was really funny because we got to I don't know how many episodes you've seen so far, but um
I think I've seen
essentially,
most of the first season.
okay, well, we got to kind of a turning point
Right.
where like it was kind of getting really good
Mm.
in my opinion, but for Katie, she was like, I think I'm going to stop watching it. And so I told her, I said, well, can I at least finish the season so that I know like what happens? And she's like, yeah. So then I watched the next episode, and literally everything just takes a different turn.
For the good,
And
for the
I
better.
For the better. And I tell her
Okay,
like,
okay.
and I go back and tell her, and
You
I
gotta go
said,
back.
you need to come back. You need to watch this.
The
It's
claws are in.
it's ridiculous how long it took, to the point where finally we hit an episode where like
Yeah.
everything just clicks and everything's like, okay, well, there's a reason to really get sink your teeth into the show now.
Mhm.
um but Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right straight out of the gate, like funny, hilarious. It
I,
was
I I really
really
like
good.
it. I really like Andy Samberg. I've tried watching the show, and it hasn't really kind of stuck with me. I don't think I've given it enough time to start liking some of the characters, but I've dipped in and out. And yeah, look, I've seen a lot of clips online, and I love Andy Samberg. Like I love Lonely Island and stuff like. So you know, I can appreciate his comedy a lot. So I think
Mhm.
I would like it. I just haven't given it the time. It's one of those shows where you know I might start watching it just kind of on lunch breaks and work, that sort of thing, and just start churning through it that way.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, because I think she's actually watched a lot of it herself solo, so it'd be one that I could kind of do when I don't need to pay too much attention, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I have a few shows like that that I just kind of throw on in the background all the time. Like I'll always kind of run through the US Office. I'll run through like Modern Family, stuff like that, like where it's kind of I can kind of half pay attention. I've seen the episodes a few times, so it's kind of like doesn't matter if I'm half missing or if it, like you know just keeps playing and it skips an episode or two. I don't really care because I've seen them all.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that show could become one of them maybe. Um, yeah, like look, I know I was looking out for Interstellar because it got re-released for the 10-year anniversary in IMAX as well.
I never
And my
watched it.
you've never seen Interstellar at all,
No.
bro? I swear to God, right? Like, drop everything. Just leave now. Like, honestly, just go and watch it now because, like, it, I shit you not, man. It is probably my all-time favorite film. Like, it is number one. It beats all Star Wars. It beats everything, bro. Like, all Marvel, everything. Like, I think this is genuinely like the greatest movie ever made. It is so fucking good. And basically, they were re-releasing it in IMAX, like full blown proper IMAX for the 10-year anniversary. And
Mhm.
I was like watching my cinema like every day, seeing if they were putting up any like little sneaky shows of it. They just seemed to not release it, so I couldn't go see it. And I was fucking raging because I saw loads of people on Twitter and stuff tweeting about it, going, "Oh, going to see the 10-year anniversary." I'm like, "Fuck you!" Like, I can't believe I'm not getting to see this. Like, I'm so unhappy about it. I'm hoping maybe they like do it in the new year or something like that. Maybe we're just getting a later release than America or something. But very unhappy if I don't get to see this because, as I say, it is probably my favorite movie. Um, Christopher Nolan directs it, starring Matthew McConaughey. Uh, what's her face is in it? She played Catwoman in his Batman. What's her name? Anne Hathaway.
Halle
And
Berry. I'm just
no,
kidding.
Anne Hathaway in the Nolan verse, and Casey Affleck. It's a young Timothy Chalamet's in it. Like it, the roster's stacked, man. It's so good. Michael Caine, like it's like basically, Christopher Nolan kind of just uses all of his kind of big actors, you know, the ones that he kind
Mhm.
of uses all the time. But it's 10 out of 10, man. Like I've heard that like some colleges actually teach the movie because the physics is and the science in the movie is so correct. Like it's actually
Yeah, it's
taught.
nearly spot on.
Yeah, like it's taught. I was only seeing a clip of Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about the movie with one of the producers of the film, and the movie is so complex that even Neil deGrasse Tyson isn't understanding it fully. Like that's how kind of deep it is. But it's so good. Like I text like memes of it to friends of mine who like I know love it as well. Like and it's honestly it's one of the greatest movies ever made, and it got me thinking as well. It's wild to think that you may have never seen your favorite movie yet, like your all-time favorite movie. By the time your life is done, it could be a film you haven't even seen yet. Like that excites me
Oh,
so
yeah.
much. It excites me so much because it's just like because with the love that I have for Star Wars, for you know all the MCU, for all the DC stuff, like Interstellar, movies like that, like Inception, all these like great movies, the Dark Knight trilogy, all these like fantastic films. To think that there could be something that trumps all of that, that's better than everything, and you haven't seen it yet because it hasn't been made yet. Like, how exciting is that to think about?
Oh, that's really exciting. I love
Oh,
stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
it just it takes time, and then there has to be people that kind of drive you to go towards the movie. Otherwise, like, you may never come around to it. Did you know that I never considered playing God of War?
I didn't either. I
Yeah.
didn't either. I never played the first three originally, like on the OG Sony, like on the OG PlayStation and stuff. They
Mhm.
just never they never like jumped out to me at all. I don't think I ever, you know, like I like no gamer has like there's everyone has blank spots. There's stuff that you kind of just miss. It doesn't appeal to you, or you just don't hear about it, or whatever. Like
Right.
when you're growing up, especially, it's kind of harder to do it nowadays, like with social media and stuff. But like when you were a kid, like God of War just never kind of crossed my path, like you know. So I never really played them. And then when God of War 4 came out in 2018, that's when I kind of was like, okay, I'm gonna like. I think they released like a hardware accelerated 60 FPS version of it on PlayStation, and I just
Mhm.
got my PS5, and I was like, okay, it's my time. I'm gonna play this game now, and that is a top 10 game for me ever. Like it's incredible.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Like just stunning. And I'm so happy that I waited to play it on the PS5 too, because I feel like I kind of got the best representation of the game.
Mhm.
And Ragnarok was an incredible sequel to it as well. So yeah, we're eating good
Well,
when it comes to that sort of stuff.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, I attribute me not playing it like as soon as possible to just my dumbass thinking like God of War. I'm never gonna play. That doesn't even
Mm,
sound appealing to me. God of War. I never.
yeah,
And it's like
yeah,
it's that whole trope of like you haven't seen it, you don't know what it is, therefore you don't want to even deal with it. And so when I actually took a look at it, saw like the cover art and whatnot, I'm like, this kind of looks interesting. And then I decided to play it, and ever since then, I played all of them.
yeah, yeah. I haven't played the originals. I think I got a free copy of three, and I booted it up on my PlayStation 5, and like I started playing like the first kind of chapter of it.
Hmm.
It felt kind of hard on the eyes just being so old. So I don't know. It felt a little rough on the eyes to play it just on a new gen console. You know what I mean? Like I kind of find, I don't know if this is just me, but I find if I'm playing very old games and they're, low FPS and stuff like that, I feel like I kind of feel sick when I'm playing them because like it's real kind of motion blurry and kind of just hard on the eyes. I don't know. That might just be me.
It probably just you. I mean, technically, I know another person that has kind of the same feeling. They can't go backwards. Apparently, they like retro games are just not on their radar. And even if it's a fantastic game, they will not play it because they would much rather have modern times, modern graphics and whatnot. But then you lose out on the aspect of what makes the newer games so important, or
Oh
like what
yeah.
makes like what drove these games to be so much better over time.
Well, like for example, like probably about 6 months ago on my channel, I went back and played all of the Uncharted games. So starting with Uncharted One, which came out in 2007,
Hmm.
and I was playing it on a 60 hertz fucking capture card, and it was just again I was kind of feeling a bit woozy, kind of feeling a bit sick, just because it was like the motion blur and everything was just kind of a bit too much for me. So I actually went out and bought a 120 hertz because I play on a 240 hertz monitor.
Hmm.
So I feel like if I was actually playing on a 60 hertz monitor, I probably wouldn't even notice. You know what I mean? But the fact that it's like it's 60 trying to play on a 240, it kind of messes with my brain, and I get that kind of sickening feeling in my stomach as well. Like I kind of have I've had to kind of log off stream a few times before because of it. Like
Hmm.
um. So yeah, I have my PlayStation running at like the best it can run. Like so, I have it running on 1440 at 120 hertz, which is like the most I can get out of the PlayStation on the current setup that I have. And I definitely do notice a difference with it. I can definitely play stuff a bit better. But then again,
Hmm.
that's all irrelevant when you're going back and playing a game that was made in 2005 or whatever, where none of this technology was possible. The
Well, it just depends on what other people have done in the past to essentially refine it. Nowadays you can get ROM hacks or any sort of mods towards different games that will smooth out the textures or increase the graphics and up the resolution, scale it better, and like include anything that essentially would give you that headache originally. So it really takes time, but like you can get it to work that way. But the fact that you have to do the effort to do so is probably discouraging.
it's not the like again, it's not the game's fault. It's me, like
Right.
So, and like, I'm not blaming the games for it. And I
Right.
love those old games, and I actually think if you got like an older TV and plugged in the old console, you'd play it perfectly fine. I just think it's the leap forward in technology hasn't met. Like the game can't go forward with it. So I feel like it's kind of just difficult on the eyes and the brain to
Hmm.
process it when it's just so slow. You know.
That's
That's
fair.
yeah, that's just what happens with me anyway. Like I used to get motion sickness sometimes, like playing like old games like Duke Nukem and Doom and stuff like that, because like you'd just be kind of be like a blur after a while. You'd be playing it for so many hours, and your kind of brain just start getting scrambled. And
Yeah.
my head just wouldn't be able to take it. Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah. and like unfortunately, I didn't get into like PC gaming until I don't know, like close to the 2000s.
Yeah,
So I didn't get a chance to really try any of the older games. So like I played Doom. I never
yeah,
finished it. I never played Doom 2. I did play like I think Doom 3, but I never finished it. Like those kinds of games to me, like they were hard at the time because there were always like new games that came out that I actually wanted to play. So um it
yeah,
I guess all in all I'm saying is like, for me, I got caught in that bug back then, but nowadays like I'm totally down to try it. Like I'm totally down to
yeah,
jump back into older games and give it a shot. Like I know that I played like Mega Man 1, 2, and 3. Those were kind of the main ones I did. I did 4. 4 was like one of my favorites back then, but now it's 3. It kind of flip-flops back and forth. But like I could always go back to Mega Man because of the way that they've designed it. It essentially is timeless in my opinion. Like there's really nothing about it that screams, "Oh my god, this is horrible." It's so I guess in terms of side-scrolling 8-bit or 16 or 32-bit video games, like it's a lot easier to kind of take in that
yeah.
over
Oh, easy. Yeah, a
um,
lot easier.
right, as
Like
opposed
the
to like
FPS and stuff, like where
right,
the world is moving around you, and I feel it just gets very blurry and kind of sickening. Yeah, for sure. Because
yeah,
like I can play like the original like Sonic the Hedgehog. Like I can play that for days.
yeah,
The
oh
only
yeah,
thing that annoys me with that is the actual like soundtracks of the game kind of drive me a bit mental after a while. Like the noises, like the music was just really repetitive and annoying. I didn't notice it when I was a kid, but as an adult, like if I'm sitting watching my son play it, it's just like, oh my god, this is going through my brain right now. I understand. I understand. I can understand my dad's frustrations when we were growing up. Like we used to play all these games, just TV so loud, and he'd just be like, "Oh my god, turn that shit down, please! It's driving me insane." I think you need to be playing it so that you're not actually like, you kind of step into it, I suppose, and maybe it
Mhm.
just becomes part of the experience. But if you're not playing, I think it just drives you mad.
That's
Anyway,
fair.
let's talk about some Skeleton Crew. We'll kick it off. Skeleton Crew, new Disney Plus show for Star Wars. It's set after Episode 6, but before Episode 7, so kind of in the same kind of time frame as like the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, the Boba Fett show, like kind of all in that same area. I like the whole kind of like lead up to when the show was coming out and stuff. I knew nothing about the show. I thought it could have been after episode 9. Like I really didn't know when it was taking place or anything like that. So it
Mhm.
was kind of interesting to see them talking about like the rebellion and stuff like that. And okay, I'm like, okay, like this is obviously just after episode 6. So the show could really go anywhere. I don't really know where it's gonna go. I don't think we're gonna have like Ahsoka show up or Luke or any of that stuff. But it's because basically the story sets place on this planet in like the outer rim, and it's kind of like a kind of Earth-like planet where you're just following these kids around who like go to school and stuff like that, and basically it's kind of like the Goonies in space. Like that's what a lot of people are kind of like referring it to. It's very much kind of for kids, but what I will say off the bat is I actually like watched episode 1. So they released the first 2 episodes this week on Wednesday, I believe. And I watched episode 1 and I was like, wow, that was actually pretty good. Like, is it childish? Yes. But it kind of like, it's kind of like a nostalgia trip. I don't know if you were a big Star Wars fan as a kid. Like, I've been obsessed with Star Wars since I was like 6 years old. So when you see like the main kid that you're kind of following in the storyline, like he's obsessed with the Jedi. He's like reading up all the tales of the Jedi and like looking. He has this like kind of digital kind of book thing, and he's like reading all the old tales of the Jedi and stuff. And like he's like daydreaming about being a Jedi. Like he wants to be a Jedi when he grows up. Like that was me when I was a kid. Like like I was obsessed. Like me and a few of my friends were like dangerously obsessed with these films as a kid. Like, we'd be going around the streets, like picking up sticks and using them as lightsabers to beat the shit out of each other and all. Like, and like you even see that like the 2 kids are waiting at the bus stop to go to school, like, and one of them's an alien, one of them's a human kid, and the 2 of them are like pretending to be like they're like whoosh, 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 like pretending to have a lightsaber fight at the bus stop and stuff. And you're like, this is it. Like, if you didn't do this as a kid, were you a Star Wars fan? So like for stuff like that, I was like, this is kind of hitting the heartstrings a bit, like, because it's a proper nostalgia trip. Um,
Mhm.
like it's a little slow paced in episode one. We're kind of just getting to know the kids. You're kind of hanging around the school. There's a couple of rebellious girls that are a little, they seem a little older than the main kid, but he thinks that they're cool and stuff because they're cutting class and skipping school and they're driving around on a little hover kind of moped looking thing, like, so they're like these like cool kids. But the main kid is basically late for school one of the days, so he takes his little scooter thing to school instead of getting the bus with the rest of the kids, and taking a shortcut through like a forest, he ends up finding what he thinks is like an old abandoned Jedi temple. He finds this like kind of door or whatever, kind of covered by shrubbery and stuff. And he goes back and tells his friend, but one of the rebellious girls overhears him talking about it. So by the time they go back later at night to kind of investigate the place, but the two girls are there as well. So they end up getting into the place because one of them is like a little like techie nerd, and she's kind of like Data from Star Trek. Like she's got the visor across her eyes and stuff. Like it's a bit on the nose. Like I'm like, this is like Data. Like it's kind of crazy, but like she's a real tech whiz. So she gets the door open, and they end up going in, looking around the place. They end up finding out it's a fucking spaceship. It's not. It's a spaceship that was like buried under the ground, like after like crash landing, like maybe could be like 50 years ago or something. And like shrubbery and stuff has grown over it, but basically being kids, like, hit the wrong button and the thing ends up autopiloting off into space. So these kids are lost in space, basically on a fucking spaceship. Like, so that's kind of the first episode. They go into episode two. The spaceship kind of has like an autopilot feature. It ends up going to this like remote kind of, like, what's it called? What's the word? Like a kind of like, oh my God. It's like a kind of, like a, I can't even think of the word. Basically, it's like a station where like all the pirates kind of go. Like I don't know if it's like a planet or if it's like a pit stop place where they basically like they have like markets and they all meet up and like get their next jobs and shit. Like it'd be like in a game where you'd go to like get your next missions. Like basically, I'm trying to think, it was like a depot, like, or whatever. My brain's not working right now. But basically, they end up the autopilot takes them there. They find a droid on the ship and stuff, and then they're basically like trying to find their way home. But they start kind of looking around this planet. I'll call it a planet. I think it is a planet. And it's full of like, it's kind of like Mos Eisley in Tatooine. It's kind of like, all the scum and villainy end up there. So like it's full of pirates and all these like evil characters. One thing I will say that's good about the show as well is there's a lot of aliens in the show. It's like full of aliens, and like the sets feel like they're kind of practically built. Like it's not on the void the entire time, and it's not kind of enclosed and kind of, the way like a Kenobi felt like it was like a stage play or something. Like it was all shot on the void, and like this show feels like it's lived in, you know what I mean? It feels grand and big. And there's just so many extras, so many aliens. Like it really felt like this show, they put a lot of care into the creation of it, because it feels like Star Wars, but they're going around on this planet. They end up finding they end up running into a few people, and like these like pirates are kind of like, where are you from, kids? And they're kind of like, they say the name of the planet, I can't remember for the life of me now, but people are kind of laughing, like going, what? I've never heard of that doesn't exist or whatever. And then they end up saying it to the wrong person, and this person's like, oh, is that the lost city of like fucking riches or some shit? And they're like, what are you talking about? So there's kind of like a little subplot going on where I think they come from a land of riches or something like that, or like a kind of mystical, like mystery land. But these pirates obviously catch wind of this, and like one of the kids takes out like an old Republic credit to pay for something, and the pirate's like, "Where the fuck did you get that?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" Like they're like, one of the kids goes, "His dad gave it to him. It's his pocket money. Like, what are you talking about?" And like they're like, "What the hell?" Like, so I think like there's going to be like a pretty interesting subplot going on where it's going to be maybe they're going to get chased back to their home planet and bring some bad people with them or something like that. Jude Law's in it. He's a kind of mysterious character. We meet him for a second at the end of the second episode, and it looks like he's a Jedi. He uses the Force to pick up something. So like it's kind of like, oh shit, okay, he's obviously going to take the kids, take over the ship. He'll be captain of the ship or whatever, and they'll go on the adventure with him. Like I presume that's where it's going. But like, episode 1 I think was like 45 minutes or something. Episode 2 was a bit shorter. It was like a half an hour. But it was definitely worth a watch. I'd be curious if you did watch it just to see what you think. Like I think some of these kid actors are quite good. Jude Law's a great actor. I have a lot of time for him, so it'll be interesting to see kind of what character he plays in the end as it keeps going. But yeah, it's good. Like, solid start. I would kind of give it maybe like a 7 out of 10. for now, which I'm very surprised at because I kind of reluctantly threw this show on. I kind of thought, oh, here we go again. It's going to be like another Acolyte or something like that. Like, it's going to be painful to watch and not for me and stuff like that. And yes, while it is kind of Disney and Star Wars really tailoring to the younger audience of Star Wars fans, I enjoyed it. I actually thought it was pulled off very well. I thought it was very good. Does it
Yeah.
sound like something you would be interested in watching?
I think with so much that's happened with Star Wars lately and the stories that they were telling, and just the way that the audience's reaction to the previous stuff has been, it's hard for me to kind of get into it nowadays, because I just feel like they are making random stories, which, I mean, that's fine in some cases, but when you're making random stories that dismiss other stories, it just kind of like ruins the magic of it.
Mm.
Um, and so, like, when I think of Skeleton Crew, like, it's another thing of like, well, I don't know if I really care about a bunch of kids, or if I care about like, an actual thing that's going on after episode 6, after the events of like episode 7 through 9. It kind of like made a sour taste in my mouth. I really don't like that arc,
It
or that
it
saga. It just
Yeah, you're 100% right. Knowing what is to come it always kind of makes it harder to watch something. Like if you know there's a shit arc on the way, it's kind of like, well, what can they do to kind of like they're not going to be able to like retcon it or rewrite it. So you just know it's all leading to episode 7. And I've said
mhm,
this since the start, like with like Mandalorian and with like the Ahsoka show and all this sort of stuff. Like I think Dave Filoni's kind of mission in life is to make the bridge between episode 6 and 7 a little less painful. I think that's his end goal. He's trying to like
mhm,
make a really good like kind of Ahsoka movie, Heir to the Empire, all that sort of stuff, like mash it all into like a big kind of event where all of these shows kind of come together for a big cinematic event to end it. And then maybe they tie in a few things like maybe Luke kind of, going into exile or something. They make it make sense. I think this is the best case scenario. This is what I'm kind of hoping for, that they can do something to kind of make it make sense, because when we get to episode 7, it's just so tough to kind of sit there and be like, how did Luke become this? Like, why did he leave? Like, it's just so stupid. Like,
right. But I think that's what kind of like throws me off a bit, is the fact that there has to be damage control. I
oh
think
yeah,
that there shouldn't have been any in the first place. They should have just followed suit. If they're going to make another saga, they should have done it appropriately and not tried to make it about someone who we've never heard of before and make them overpowered.
yeah,
When we hear about Luke, when we hear about Anakin, like Anakin and Luke, like their stories are not like exactly the same, but they both start out with potential and they do well. But because of Anakin's past as a hothead, Luke is prone to that to that dark side feeling.
yeah.
And so it's got legs, right? Like, but we didn't know that until after watching, episodes 1 through 3, that, what kind of person Anakin was. So it kind of allowed us to understand who Luke is from that perspective. And then when we find out that Darth Vader was is his father, then it's like, well, shit. Does that mean that Luke can like be part of the dark side? And so when they do that again with Rey near the end of the fucking like saga, it's it almost feels like it's a bit of a cheat. Like you're trying to do the same thing over again for no reason. It should have been a completely different run. It should have been, just like a like an unknown Jedi who has great potential, who fails, but she, like, as far as I know, it never felt like she failed at all.
She never fails. Like,
And
sorry, she gets to a stage where we're talking about Ray, right? It's like she gets to a stage
yeah,
where it comes to like the end of episode 8, and it's like the first time she's had any sort of test whatsoever.
mhm,
And the big like Dark Lord Snoke just gets killed straight away, and
right.
you're kind of sitting there going, "What?" Like when I saw Snoke die in that movie, because he was probably one of the most interesting parts of the sequel trilogy as you were watching it live. Episode 7, he wasn't really in episode 7 at all, but then episode 8 pops around, and you're kind of like, "Oh, who's this guy?" You're like, "Oh, this
Mhm.
is interesting." Okay, Like we're gonna find out who he is. He's like, there was the rumors, and it's true. It came out to be true in the end, but like that he's a clone of Palpatine, and like that was interesting. That made sense. And Kylo Ren is probably the best part of
Yeah.
the movies as well. And then they themselves just made these films and not even knew where they didn't even know where they were going. Like they outright said it. Like Ray didn't know who she was. Daisy Ridley, the actress who plays Ray, she hadn't got a clue what her heritage was until episode 9, kind of like during the making of the film. They were like, "Oh, by the way, you're a Palpatine." It's like, and she's like, "What?" Like they were kind of messing around with her either being nobody at all or messing around that with the thing that she was going to be related to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, and
Right.
again, that would have made sense because then it would have given Luke a reason to attach to her. You know what I mean? It's like you're related to Ben. Like what? My mentor. It would have made sense then, but like they just didn't even bother. Like it just felt so lazy. It felt so stupid.
Yeah. And honestly, I think the movies would have dealt like handled better if it was like if she just remained a nobody. If
Yeah.
she just was an up and comer who had high potential, who can, who basically almost could do no wrong. I think that's kind of weird. Like you need a hero that has like their downfalls, and there really wasn't any that I can remember that was considered like a loss on her end. Um, we didn't
No,
lose Finn, we didn't lose Chewie, we didn't lose like we lost Han Solo, but that wasn't even for her. That was like that wasn't for anybody, to be honest. Like like
that was
besides
Harrison. I think
yeah, like
Harrison said, "I'll come back for one movie, but you got to kill me off." Like I genuinely think that's what happened. Like, and he was like, "Yeah, okay, you're gonna kill me. Yeah, cool. I'll do it. I'll do one more, just for the money."
right.
That's what it was. It was a cash grab, 100%.
So weird though. Like it's just
Oh, Harrison hates
it
Star Wars, man. He hates it.
well, like I get
Hates
that, but
it.
like you probably shouldn't involve him in the next series then. Like you should have just left him alone.
Well, like, yeah, like again, I don't really want to get bogged down on this because I could talk about this for 6 hours. Like, but
Right.
the fact that they had Mark Hamill back, they had Carrie Fisher still alive, and they had Harrison Ford for a film, and they didn't put them on screen together is criminal. I will never forgive them for it. You know what I mean? You could have had at least one scene, whether it be a flashback with a de-aging or whatever you wanted to do. You could have had a scene with the three of them in it together, and you didn't do it.
Mhm.
Like Luke and Leia never had a scene together outside of that one flashback training scene, which Leia wasn't even in because they shot that in episode 9. She was already dead. You know what I mean? So they didn't actually put Kerry and Mark Hamill together in a scene
Mhm.
actually at all, which is it's criminal, man. It really is. Like you had the OGs back and you didn't use them properly at all. You just had Luke being a fucking hermit living on an island by himself.
Tossing lightsabers.
Oh, man, I know. I know. I have that
That
lightsaber.
was
I have that lightsaber sitting on the shelf behind me there. Like it's like one of my prized possessions. And like to see Luke hold it again, like I was almost crying in the cinema. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is incredible. And then at the start of episode 8, he just throws it away. I was like, oh my God, bro. I was like, oh man. Actually, I think I yelped when that happened. Like I was just like, I gasped. Like I was just like, what the fuck? I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like I just couldn't believe the disrespect. It was just crazy. Ah,
it was ridiculous. Like they really should have considered like what was so important about those about the lightsabers and about like why it matters to even have them. And it just felt like a kick in the nuts. Like, who cares? It's a lightsaber. I don't want to be a trainer anymore. It's like, no, dude, you don't deserve that like luxury of being able to go, it's not my thing anymore. Like the force is unbalanced again. You need to fix it. You need to help bring the next generation to, so that you can hand it off and say it's not my problem anymore, because that's kind of how I saw it when it came to Yoda, because like Yoda's too old. Like you can't really have him run the business of being of the Jedi temples anymore. Like you can't just assume that he can train people again. He was so tired. He's so old too. Like, and it's just like Mark Hamill's character, barely, in my opinion, barely like was starting to age.
mm. Like
So like,
i- if George Lucas wrote that film and they did that scene where Luke found that lightsaber again, there's no way he would have thrown it away. Like he would have been like, "Oh
No,
my god!" Like my father's lightsaber would have been so important to him. He's like,
right.
"This was my father built this. Like this was my first lightsaber. You know what I mean? This was given to me by Ben, my mentor. Like who, made by my father. Like you would have had like Hayden Christensen's ghost show up and like, wow, the lightsaber and all. You know, like they would have easily been able to do that. Like if George was around. Like, but
Hmm.
just I don't know if you ever saw any of the interviews with Mark Hamill when he was talking about even this was during the press tour of this film. Like he was like bad mouthing. Like he's just like, didn't understand what Ryan was trying to do, or Rainn Wilson or whatever his name is, and um or Rain Johnson Wilson's the
Ryan
dude from The
Johnson.
Office. Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this stupid shit, man. And he was just like, this doesn't even feel like Luke Skywalker. Like Hamill was like jokingly calling him Jake Skywalker during the press tour because he's like, this is not Luke Skywalker. Like, there's no way
Mm,
Luke would never abandon everybody. He would never leave Leia behind. He would never leave the Republic behind after everything he did, like to free them from the Empire. He just disappears, and then it's like you don't even give us the reason why. Like, do a flashback sequence, show him having his kids and the Jedi Temple, and maybe Mara Jade's around, and they all get slain, and then maybe it might make sense that he just disappears because just with the sheer grief he can't handle it. But like, show us why. You know what I mean? Like
right.
we get one little flash at, I think it's during episode 8 or even episode 9 after it's all said and done, and it's like, we see he has like one tiny little glimpse of Ben maybe turning and decides to destroy the entire Jedi Order over it. Like it just didn't even make any sense, man.
Mm-mm.
Uh yeah. To revert back, Skeleton Crew is quite good. it's it's a it's a breath of fresh air. Like the galaxy is so giant. Like I think if you're gonna make something in the time, do something like this where it's not any Jedi's. There's no people that we know. It's just a completely
Hmm.
separate story. You know what I mean? It's something that you can kind of dip the hands into. You can be as creative as you want because technically it's not really anywhere in the timeline. I think that's a clever way to do it. I understand what Dave's trying to do, and like if he has access to like actors like Hayden Christensen and stuff, I'm like, yeah, maybe go for it. Like, but we've seen how bad some of these shows have been. Like Kenobi should have been the greatest home run of all time, the easiest home run of all time, and it just wasn't. And Ahsoka, while it started amazing, it had a poor finish. You know what I mean? And like you had Rosario Dawson, you had all your flashbacks to the clone, like everything the fans wanted, they got. Like everyone was always saying for years, like, oh, I want a live action version of Anakin in the Clone Wars armor. We got it. Like we want Anakin in the void or whatever, or like a ghost Anakin. We got it. And,
Hmm.
you know, it still just felt like it wasn't done properly. And that's crazy to me. Crazy. Like if you handed, and I know they never would, but if Star Wars handed like Star Wars Theory, the YouTuber, if they handed him a bunch of money and a script and just said, write your corrections to it, let's get this film made, like he would absolutely do a better job than these people in Disney. Like I know that for an absolute fact. Like I would put my life savings on it. Like I know it for a fact.
Hmm.
Like the dude's making his own fan film and he's pumping in like tons and tons of his own money to make this fan film. And the thing looks better than than things that Disney are putting out now. He's doing it by himself. It's insane. I'm gonna see, can I pull this up for you? I have to show you this.
Well, I mean, that's what creates the passion, right? Is knowing that things could have been a lot better, and so for the people that are creative enough to say like, I could totally fix this. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It definitely shows like how much some fans are just truly interested in making things right for Star Wars. Because like it's not horrible. It's just there hasn't been a good story lately.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's crazy, dude. Like, wait till you see this.
Yeah.
Like, I have to show you this. And anyone who's watching this, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. Maybe just bring up the stream so you can actually see what I'm about to show here. But like, it's crazy, bro. Like to think that like this guy who's like the same age as me and he's been a Star Wars fan as long as I have, like, and obviously he has an incredible following and all that sort of stuff. So he's able to do stuff like this. But watch this, dude. Disney hold my blue milk, he called the video. So just keep in mind that this is something that he's made himself. He's hired a team of animators and stuff, but how insane does that look?
Looks pretty good.
The 501st. This is Anakin's team of stormtroopers.
Mhm.
Bro,
That's pretty cool.
it's very cool, dude. It's very cool. Like to think that it's a standard dude just doing it by himself. He's written the scripts, he's written the story. He actually has Nick Gillard, the guy who worked on the prequel trilogy with George Lucas. He did all the choreography. He's doing choreography for this fan film. Like, it's insane, dude. It's insane. Fair play to him. I've nothing but respect for the man. I was going to cover some Arcane. I thought maybe you might have watched a couple of episodes of the new season. I've seen up to episode 5 now, so I don't really want to talk about it because I think I don't want to ruin it on you.
Oh,
but I will say,
you're not going to ruin anything. If you want to talk about it,
no. I don't really, because I don't really want to go into detail on something that I know you're going to fucking love. So I won't go into the detail. But I'll just say, if Zavin is listening, Zavin, I finished episode 5 tonight, and it's great. It's really fucking good, dude. I was talking to him during the week on my gaming stream, and he was saying he had like problems with episode 7, but I think that's the only episode that he had an issue with.
Mhm.
And I was checking the IMDb ratings, and like episode 8 and 9, the last 2 episodes are like almost a perfect score. Like they're like 9.8, 9.9. Like, so I think even if it does dip off a bit, if for episode 7, and again, I don't know why it dips off or what his opinion of it is, but the fact that it's going to come back and just finish strong is crazy. So yeah, maybe the next time we sit down, I'll definitely have it finished. If you do, we can do a kind of full kind of series review of it. I was so happy though that I watched season 1 again, because I'd forgotten so much of it, like crazy amounts. Like me and the missus looked at each other like, what? When did this happen? Like, it just felt so crazy to us. Like, we felt like we were watching a lot of it for the first time. And then like how the season ends with basically Jinx like launching the rocket into like the council meeting, like the season 2 like literally picks up where that left off. So I had completely forgotten about all of this. So like I would have watched episode 1 and gone like, what the hell's going on here?
like, what the hell?
Yeah, like it's like, what the hell just happened? So I feel like I've really given it the best kind of go that I can. And yeah, it's incredible. It really is. I presume the final arc, there's going to be like a jump forward in time, because I think they age a little bit for the last arc. But they're kind of still the same age as they were for the second half of the first season at the moment. But yeah, no, it's really, really good. Are you like a wrestling fan? Were you ever a wrestling fan as a kid? Did you ever watch like WWE or WWF or anything?
I watched stuff here and there from time to time. It wasn't like, oh my God, I watched it on the daily, but I really enjoyed it whenever I got the chance to watch it.
I like was a massive fan as a kid. Like, so during the Attitude Era, as they call it, like from like 1998 to 2002, I was like big into it. Like, I was the perfect age. I was like 10 years old or whatever. And I was just like, loved watching like the Hardy Boys and Stone Cold and The Rock and all these people, like, there's a documentary that they put out on Netflix called Mr. McMahon about Vince
man, I've been wanting to watch that.
Dude, it's, again, even if you're not a fan, like if you're not a big fan or anything, it's still worth a watch. Like the way that they go back, it's such a well-made documentary. I think it's only 3 episodes, or sorry, maybe 6. I can't remember. It is quite long, actually. It's about 6 hours or so. But they go through like the entire history of the WWF and turning into the WWE and so on. But what's really crazy about the whole thing is that they shot most of the interviews with Vince himself before all these scandals came out about him. There was like sexual assault scandals and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. So like,
fucking horrible.
Yeah, but you're watching the documentary, and Vince is kind of talking about like all this crazy stuff, like, and kind of like, oh, Yeah, it was a bit crazy back then and all this stuff. Like you're kind of like now you're kind of like, oh shit. But the way he's kind of talking about it, you're kind of just like, oh, you could just tell it was like Wild Wild West shit back in the day, and just treating women like shit, and just all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff. But then you like obviously when you get to like the last episode of the the documentary, like he doesn't do any more interviews because obviously it went public during the film, and so he like refused to speak to them at the very end. But
Mhm.
like, to be fair, like some of the some of the big ups like Triple H, who's like obviously married to Stephanie and all, he's part of the family. Like he did a lot of interviews for it, and Hulk Hogan as well. Like they kind of famously dropped out for years with each other, and like it's a fascinating watch. Like obviously, I'm not saying that I ever condone anything that he did or anything, but
Right.
he's a very interesting human, and just kind of watching how his mind works and how he conducted business, like you can see how he became a billionaire. Like, you know what I mean? Like his mindset is just, we gotta win. I gotta do whatever I can. It's like cutthroat, get to the fucking top, take out whoever needs to be taken out. Like he like did crazy shit with storylines in the show, like to his daughter, like where he had this like crazy storyline in the show which never happened, but he wanted to like impregnate Stephanie. And he was like,
Yeah.
yeah, like he was gonna like make a storyline up where he got her pregnant or something like that. And like it's just like what makes you think of that sort of stuff? But like again, it was like it didn't matter. Like the real world didn't matter. It was just whatever made money. You know what I mean? And
Right.
like there was a story where like Stephanie became like a slut to the crowd. Like the crowd were calling her a slut now. And like Vince was like, we got to play into this. The people are loving it. This is money. Like, let's do it. Like, and they went ham on it. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, Jesus, bro, that's your daughter. Like, it's just, oh, it's insane. But it's a very entertaining watch. Really, really good documentary. Like, I wasn't expecting to enjoy it that much at all, but um, seeing all the Attitude Era stuff was just so good to see, and just even all the stuff from the start of his career was like really interesting to watch. And like he took the business over from his father, who he obviously had a very kind of strange relationship with his own father. And then you hear like Shane, his son, talking, and like Vince kind of did the same thing to Shane, which obviously isn't very fair, but that's just the way that he was. My dad never
Yeah.
told me that he loved me, so Shane had to really earn it from me and stuff. And then, like, obviously, I can't really speak from experience. Like I come from a very kind of loving household, like so I don't really know when people talk about like insane kind of like dynamics in households. Like I'm very lucky that our family are just very boring, kind of just run of the mill family. Like, but um, I would like to think if I had a very awkward and difficult relationship with my dad, I wouldn't want to do that to my own kids. I would think that I would like to kind of learn from their mistakes and do better. I feel like that's the goal as a parent. Like,
Oh yeah.
I feel that's what, like, and even like I can't complain on my upbringing. Like, my parents did everything for me and my sister. Like, they gave us as much as they possibly could, and even more. They worked their asses off to put us through school and get us all the clothes we wanted, and get me my fucking PlayStation 1 and 2 and all this stuff, like when they probably couldn't afford it. But like, even like, and not to say anything bad about them, but like when I look back, I'm like, I obviously want to do even more for my kids. Like, yeah, I think that's the goal as a parent. You always want your kids to have a better life than you had. Not saying that I had a bad life, I had a great life, but I still want my kids to have a better life.
Right. Of course.
Yeah. And I just kind of feel like Vince is the type of guy that just doesn't really think like that. And that's very, like, that's red flags for me. Like, it's like, why would you, like, your dad did that to you, it clearly affected you, you can clearly see that it's affected you as a person. Why would you do that to your own son? It's fucked up, man. It's weird.
Um, Probably to just repeat the same
Yeah,
events and just
yeah,
essentially like kind of probably create the same monster in the sense. I mean, like it's fucked up to say, but like Vince had a lot of good stories to tell, like within the WWF, and you know, again, like we don't condone any of the ridiculous stuff, but for the most part, like he just knew how to get into people's minds and to make people really think that this stuff I really feel like some people thought that this stuff was real.
yeah. Like, that was one of the things that they say why they, like, you remember when they changed from WWF to WWE?
Yeah.
Like, it was because of like there was like the Wildlife Federation or whatever, like they had the name and the initials first, and they kind of went into a court case with them, and they won, and they had to change their name. But I think part of it was as well that a lot of people seemed to be on the fence, thinking that it was real, and then they kind of had to say, "Look, this is sports entertainment. It's not actually real." Because
Right.
they go over it a little bit in the show where one of the, I think two of the wrestlers, I can't remember which ones it was, but two of them were leaving to go to a different organization, and at the end of the match, they all kind of sat in the middle of the ring and hugged each other and had this moment. And like loads of the fans were like, "What the fuck are you doing? You've like broke the cardinal rule of wrestling where you've stopped the act. Like these guys were meant to hate each other and it was meant to be a big rivalry that went on for years. But at the end of their final match, they all just kind of hugged each other and went like, I'm gonna miss you, brother, and all. Like they kind of broke character. And like people were just like, that's the cardinal sin of wrestling. You can't do that, like, and all this stuff. And so many people were going mad. And Vince himself, like, I think Triple H was one of the guys who did it. And apparently, Vince was like, "You're not getting the title now." After that, like, he was meant to get the title at the next WrestleMania, and he's like, "You're losing that now because you broke character." Like that's how kind of crazy it was back then, because they were really trying to make it real, And then now it's like they've embraced the fact that it's not, like, which I don't know about you, like, but when I was extremely young, I thought it might be real, or that the guys were getting hurt, or that the stories
Mhm.
were real and the guys really hated each other. But that didn't last for very long. Like it became very obvious very quickly that it's not real. Like you'd see them, they don't even hit each other or anything like that. Like so, I'm like, of course, like it's all an act. They're actors, basically. Like
Yeah, but like it's insane how many people like just took it so seriously though. Like and just kind of tacking on to what you were talking about. Like it's just you know like I don't know if you've ever watched like Mexican wrestling. It's essentially like a similar situation, but it's I would say it's a lot more on the acrobatic side. Like they do
yeah,
fucking crazy ass stunts, and I think for the most part they don't break character whatsoever, and that's why
yeah,
they do the whole like
the
mask
masks and
thing
shit.
for the
Yeah,
luchador, because like
cool.
that would be a wrestler's shame if their mask was taken off and their face was actually revealed, because it's all in the design of the characters. You don't want them to ever be revealed as normal people,
Mm.
because once you humanize them, then it's like, well, you're just another guy who's like performing random ass wrestling moves. Like
He's
it's
working, bro. It's his job.
yeah,
He's
it's
at
just
work.
a yeah, he's just working.
Yeah,
So like I think that with Mexican wrestling, it took it to a good level to where like they knew it was like you could never ever break character whatsoever. Otherwise, like shit like that happens. But because we're Americans tend to want to do their own thing, and they want to set it up the way that they want to. Like there's always going to be changes in dynamics.
yeah.
But like then you get that shit where it's like, oh fuck, dude, like you just killed what was supposed to be like one of the coolest
Sacred.
moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think though it was like so. What's weird about the whole situation as well? It wasn't a televised episode, so it wasn't like Monday Night Raw. It was a live show in Madison Square Garden. But what happened
Mhm.
was someone was recording in the crowd and they put it online. Like this was like at
Mm.
the very beginning of the internet. Like, but it got out, and basically like Vince was just going crazy. Like so they kind of thought, look, it's a live show, the people that are here are kind of get to see a special moment, but it's not like part of like the episodic storyline of like Monday Night Raw or whatever. So I don't know, man. It's like obviously harmless. Like I think yourself. Like it's someone leaves the job and you want to give them a farewell. Like so, but yeah, it was all just taken so seriously. It's such a funny part of the documentary.
Uh, oh dude. And speaking of like farewells and people leaving their job, I don't know how much you actually get into the anime scene of things, but I just wanted to say, like, unfortunately, we're going to be losing one of the voice actors from One Piece, and it's not like any sort of random character or any sort of character that's recurring or anything. It's a crew member. It's a
Oh,
Straw Hat member.
oh shit!
Um,
This
yeah,
is for the
they're
the Japanese, like the main voice actor.
Yeah, and it's really got people very upset. Not in a mean way, just they're very sad.
Oh,
That
dude, like that is so important. Like, I don't know if you were ever like a Rick and Morty fan, but like when they replaced the actor for Rick, like I don't watch the show anymore, man. Like it doesn't feel the same anymore. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
Justin Rollins is gone. Like he was the original, like one of the original creators of the show, and it just doesn't feel right without him. And I can feel it so blatantly that someone is just trying to replicate his voice, but not even doing it properly. Like there's a dude on TikTok, I can't remember his name, but he does the
Oh,
he
who's like 10 times better?
he's so good, bro. He does it perfectly. And like he was campaigning to try and get the role and they gave it to somebody else. But it's like there's a dude on TikTok who wanted the job, who is
Mhm.
perfect for the job, and they didn't give it to him. They went somewhere, they went a different way. And now the actor, like I could tell the first fucking moment I heard him speak, I was like, that's not Rick. And it threw me off so much. So annoying because obviously he has to do Morty as well. I think his Morty was a bit better, but his Rick felt really off. Oh, dude. So I hope that
Yeah.
doesn't happen to people with One Piece now, because obviously, it's going on so long, and
Um,
hopefully they can. Are they going to recast, or what are they doing?
yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they have to. They
like
have to because the crew
is
member's
this
not
like
dead.
Zoro or something, or who is this? Like which
Dude,
character?
if it was Zora, I'd be crying. I still teared up a bit. It's the voice actor for Frankie.
Was Frankie in the live action? Do I know him, or is he's not?
Nope.
Okay,
You don't
okay,
know him yet. You wouldn't know him until probably if they were to do the live action of it, you probably wouldn't know him until season 3 or 4.
okay, okay. Yeah,
If you were to watch season 2, and I mean it's not really that big of a spoiler. If you watch season 2, you're gonna run into Chopper and Robin and Vivi.
mhm.
But other than that, like Frankie doesn't come until way, way later until they reach Water 7. And if they do season 2, well, when they finish up season 2, I'm assuming it's just going to be up to the end of Alabasta. But the funny thing about that is, the voice actor for Frankie also does different voices for the show as well.
Yeah.
And one of the most iconic voices ever in that show, besides Frankie, is Mr. Two Bon Clay. And dude, I cannot tell you enough how much I love that character. And
All
it's
right.
so funny because when you first, like, if you actually had started and you started watching weekly and you got to the point where ran into Bon Clay and you started and you got to know him, you're like, this dude's a fucking goofball. He's a fucking idiot. And he's a villain. Like, what the fuck? Like, and then you get to see like the aftermath of Alabasta, and then it turns out like he really just wanted to be friends afterwards because he lost to Sanji, and it becomes like this huge friendship situation where like they have to leave the island and the Navy show up, and so they're trying to capture them, and Bon Clay does his shit and goes, "Don't worry, I got this," and he's doing this, he's doing these poses and whatnot, and like because he's like in kind of like a ballerina costume with like swan heads and whatnot. Like he's just a very goofy character with the ability to mimic others' faces. I think it's called the cone fruit, and it's so fucking good. Like you hate this character at the beginning because you're like, this dude's a fucking doofus, and then you're like, okay, he was fine, and then you run into him again when Luffy is in Impel Down, which is a max security prison. Like Luffy never would have left Impel Down if not for Bon Clay. He finds Luffy, he saves him. Luffy's like sick and poisoned and nearly dying, and he goes from a villain who you didn't give a shit about to crying tears because he's trying so hard to save the life of the main character
Hmm.
to the point where he's about to die, and he manages to save the rest of the people that were escaping the prison because he stayed behind to open the gates of like leading outward. And just that moment of like they're both crying and they're both saying goodbye because they're never sure if we're ever gonna see them again, and then that's it. And you see him, he's like, all you see is like just the closing out, he's laughing and crying at the same time. It's like, we got you. And it was so fucking good, dude. Like dude, I can't tell you how much I fucking love that show. Like that show in my opinion, like you know, like those shows like Grey's Anatomy, Sesame Street, and shit like that. Those shows run on for fucking ever. They have so many stories to tell about and whatnot. This show is eventually going to end, and I think people are going to be so sad when it does.
It's always the way, bro. It's always the way. Like there's shows where the diehard fans, like Supernatural for me is like one of those ones where it's like 15 seasons and people are still like, the show's over. Jesus, it ended like 3 years ago now, maybe. And people are still like the fan base is still like, bring it back, revive it, do a 10 episode miniseries on HBO, like, do anything, just bring it back, please. Like Netflix, pick it up. Somebody like Amazon, pick it up. Like they just want anyone to pick it up because they just want to keep going. And yeah, like, Grey's Anatomy, it's not something I've ever been interested in, but I think they're on season 17 or something. So, do you know what I mean? They're going to keep doing shows like that as long as people are going to keep watching them. So, and like I find it's kind of easier with doctor shows and stuff like that. Like, you just bring in a new patient, he becomes a fan favorite, then he gets cancer and he dies and everyone cries. And then it's like, they do the same thing again. Someone comes in, they've got a dodgy heart. And then like, it's like, oh, he's a fan favorite again. And the girls fall in love with him. And then it's like, boom, dead. And it's like, disaster. And then it's like, season 5 comes out and it's like, they just do the same shit. And like, bring in real world events, terrorist attacks, COVID, all this sort of shit. Like it's so easy to keep shows like that going, I think. Like, and again, like Supernatural, it's fucking just, do the wheel. Like, is it a demon episode? Is it a fucking vampire episode? They could just keep going. You know what I mean? Like they're hunting just a different thing all the time. Ghosts, spirits, whatever. So I don't know. I think if you like stuff like that, it's your comfort place, And for me, like that's Supernatural for me. That's like shows like Arrow and stuff like that. I just love watching shows like that. The MCU. Like I went back and rewatched Hawkeye this weekend. It's one of those shows where like I just kind of like throwing it on around the Christmas time now. You know what I mean? Like my missus is like, "Oh, the show's not that good. You don't need to watch it every year." And I'm kind of like, I actually like watching this every year, like because it's really easy to do it. Like you can watch the first 4 episodes in like one sitting, and it just flows really well. It's really good. And then you come back and watch the last 2 when you get introduced to Kingpin, and then they do the finale. Like, and Clint makes it home for Christmas. Like it feels nice. It's like it's a nice little Christmas movie.
That's the way
I
our buddy
look at
Clint Masterflex made it home for Christmas.
yeah. So that's like for me, it's something that like I will happily watch that show every Christmas. Like it doesn't like it's. I think it's a good watch. So yeah, like as long as the fan base stays initiated, they can just make these things forever.
The funny thing about the design of One Piece and how people were talking about the pacing, so they started doing the Fishman Island kind of remastering, and they were
Is that out?
Yeah, it's already starting up on some episodes right now, and I watched like the first episode and immediately was like, this doesn't feel good. Sure. And like people have been complaining, bitching, and just downright being like, oh my God, I hate the pacing. I think it takes too long to get from this to this. It takes too long to do this and this. Then they come out with these episodes. The writers and the directors, like any of the animators, they give them what they want. They essentially go, okay, we're going to turn it down a bit. We're going to speed it up and we're going to cut things in between. And we're going to essentially make it, more manageable because you guys think it has pacing issues. So after watching that episode, and I was like, so I went on to Reddit because you get a lot of trolls and stuff on Reddit. You get a lot of people that bitch about things.
Passionate people.
Very, very passionate people.
Yeah.
First thing that pops up is, does anyone else feel like the Fishman Island remake is too fast?
Right.
And
that's how you feel?
I feel like they've taken out too many things.
Yeah.
So it's a little too much of a skip. I think they didn't understand like how much pacing like was necessary. I don't know if maybe to be honest, like I don't complain about stuff like that. I think that when you make a show like that, if you pace it the way that you want to pace it. And if it takes a bit longer, so what? But the idea behind it is to convey the feelings that are occurring within the show itself. So just as a heads up, I am rewatching One Piece again. I started over.
You're insane.
I'm
But
I, I'm already almost 20 episodes in, I think. Or no, I'm actually past 20 episodes in. And
is this new one? Is the new one? Is it like a remaster? Like, have they like completely like redone it, or is this like reusing like old footage but just chopping it up and making it different?
so
Like, how are they
for
doing it?
the Fishman Island one,
Yeah, yeah.
they redid it, that like it's
Okay.
redrawn, it's
Yeah, new
re
animation and everything. New voice
right,
actors,
which no,
or is it
no.
this? It's the same, the
It's
original guys. Okay,
yeah, it's the original. Um
that's cool. Like,
they
that's a good idea. I think. Like on paper, it sounds good. Like if you're gonna give it a kind of fresh feel and fresh look, I would hope that it pays off. But yeah, it sounds like you're not enjoying it.
No, it's definitely taken aback. Like I've taken aback to it, and I've been really thinking like, oh, this there really wasn't anything wrong with the pacing in Fishman Island, in my opinion. I think
Yeah.
people bitch and complain about the smallest things because they think it's like it's really going to take forever for them to catch up on something. If you like the show, you're not going to bitch about the pacing. And I think the people that bitch about the pacing are the ones that barely even remember what happens in the show, because every little thing, every little detail that occurs in the show itself, yeah, maybe there's a couple things that you can take out in between, but every little detail that happens for a reason. You'll see things in the background that you never noticed before. You'll see things on the side that you never thought of.
Hmm.
Things are occurring in the background that you don't even realize. When you go through the archipelago and you run into like Jewelry Bonnie, uh, you run into like all the basically the supernovas. You run into Captain Kidd and Trafalgar Law. You've run Scratch Manapoo. You've run into all these different characters who have over 100 million on their bounty, and they haven't even set out into the new world yet. It's it shows when you see like the brooding points, when it takes time, like it takes an additional like minute just to kind of show off those moments here and there. And when they kind of shorten it up too much, it really shows, because then it's like, wait, what? I just saw what? And it's like it's gone, it's fleeting. So
Yeah.
like the idea about the show is to give that moment of like you have to like it gives you time to kind of think about what's going on screen right now. They will show Luffy staring at someone for literally like 5 seconds before panning back to that person, and then it'll pan back to him and he's still staring at them, and it's supposed to give that feeling of like, oh shit, he's being
Mm.
really serious about what's going on here. Now, when they do that and then they take out the 5 seconds, it's like it's too fast. Like it's like, okay, well, like there's no time to react to that feeling or understand what the feeling is. Um, it's very much I could go on about this forever, but like basically just to conclude it, the pacing, although people had bitched about it, I think the people that are bitching about it are the ones that aren't really that invested in it, but
Hmm.
still like the show. The ones that are very much invested in it, like I am, love the pacing. It's perfectly fine, because if you think about it, the show's almost over.
Yeah.
So and if you like, if you think about different shows that have been on for much longer than this, I'm pretty sure there are people that watch those same shows, those other shows, that do the exact same antics, but they just figure out something new to do. It's never going to end because it doesn't have an ending. This show has an ending, and so it needs to give off the most out of its emotions whatsoever. When you feel it, you're going to feel it.
Mm.
um and that's the whole point of it. When they come out with the One Piece, I don't know what they're going to do with the pacing. They never said anything about changing up the pacing or whatsoever. I think ultimately they just want to make it polished. They just want to make it look better. And if
Yeah.
they're going to be using the same designers that they did for some of the more recent episodes, like episodes 11, like during Egghead arc, or the fan letter, like people loved the fan letter, and people are like not pissed, but people are very confused towards other people when people who have never watched One Piece watch the fan letter, because if you watch the fan letter, you get spoiled on so much shit. And people are like, what are you fucking doing? And they're
Mhm.
like, well, it just looked really pretty. I wanted to watch the fan letter. It's like, no, you idiot. You're gonna see things that you shouldn't know
Yeah,
because
yeah,
those are like 500 episodes in and they're huge spoilers.
yeah,
Like it's because the point of the like at the point of the fan letter is at the point of Fishman Island,
yeah.
where they're leaving Archipelago. Um, and they're setting off sail again after the 2-year time skip. So like when you get to that point, you should already know everything that's occurred beforehand, because if you don't understand how important it is for certain characters. Like this character died.
Mm.
This character was very attached to that character. They lost their shit. They went ballistic. They basically went into PTSD mode and were fucking shrieking because they were holding on to the person that they love the most in their arms as they were dying in their arms. And that is how important it is to know about that before you even watch the fan letter, because every single character's arc has already been like looked into, and so those characters have their story. And so you reach into that point. And so when you go into the fan letter, you understand everybody's story and why they love those characters. And the coolest thing about that is that when you do the fan letter, if you love Chopper, guess what? Like there's a character in that fan letter that's like, he's supposed to be this badass Navy soldier, and he opens his drawer and it's a picture of Chopper and he's like, oh, I love Chopper. It is so fucking funny. And it's like you
Mhm.
have this lady who's in the bookstore and she's looks kind of like Robin, and she's like, oh, I fucking love Nico Robin. Every single character is
Yeah,
beloved in that fan letter. There's so many different moments in that. It's so beautiful. I've not seen a single person who watched it that didn't go through the whole thing that didn't cry. Like it's this show is stupid emotional.
yeah.
And I don't think, like, I think if you were to watch it, I don't think you would
A
very
lot of
much
Japanese stuff.
cry.
A lot of Japanese stuff I find is like that. Like
Yeah.
I find like they're always kind of very upset. They're very emotional characters that they portray in these things. Like even
Well,
Demon
and
Slayer, like you're like they're always crying in Demon Slayer and all. And I'm just like, am I meant to be crying now? I'm like, I don't know,
I,
but they're
I
always
mean,
really upset.
it's all in the way you perceive it, man. Like if
Mm.
you if
Yeah,
you like tragedy and comedy, that's kind of what you know anime is all about. Like it's all in
yeah,
the tragedy and comedy. And I think that that's kind of the best form of entertainment, in my opinion. And I think that Japanese animators and creators and whatnot have kind of nailed that down. Like they have it down pat. Like they've made so many different shows that do the exact same thing, but for some reason still hits just as hard as the next show.
yeah,
You watch Demon Slayer and you see all these different deaths that go on, and then like the next couple episodes, they're literally recovering and laughing about things, and kind of seeing the bright side to it. And then you go into Jujutsu Kaisen and everything seems kind of like pretty normal. Maybe you have a death or two that don't really matter to you, but then you get one that just hits you right in the fucking feels, and then it's like there you go.
mhm,
Um, I think it's more so like the more emotional people are more inclined to want to watch these kind of shows, as opposed to the people that don't necessarily get emotional over this. Because I notice like a lot of people that don't tend to be very emotional about things don't really watch animes. And
mm,
I don't know, like I could be wrong. By all means, tell me I'm wrong. But I like for anybody that I've actually had watch shows with me, any sort of like these anime shows, it it really goes to show you, like, I will show you something that you would like. And even if you don't cry in the show, like it's fine. I just want you to enjoy it. If it still made you feel like you like holy shit that sucked.
yeah,
Like not as in like the show's bad, but as in like that really
yeah,
sucked for that character. That really
yeah.
sucked for this situation. Then
I
I
I
got
need
then
I need
it's
to
successful.
really connect with a character to feel like that, I suppose.
Dude,
And like I haven't had that experience in anime yet. Um,
it-
like there's superheroes that like I will choke up about, like when somebody dies or whatever. Like Aunt May dying in No Way Home, like, and just the way Tom Holland acted it and everything, and the way Aunt May, the actress, what's her name, Marissa,
Marissa Tomei.
yeah, she's like just the way she's like trying to pass it off as if she's okay and all, like, and you're just kind of sitting there watching it, just going like, oh my god, this is tough to watch, you know, like, so I definitely do get emotional about things, but I
Mhm.
need to have like a real connection to the character, because otherwise I'm
Dude,
just like, yeah, dude, this is not real, like, you know, it's like I'm not gonna cry about
right.
this stuff because it's like, you know, it's fake, but
Dude,
I understand.
I cried over a fucking boat.
I know I was going over some clips from last week's episode, and I have that clipped out with you talking about the boat and stuff. It's so
Dude,
funny.
like
I understand though. I understand, man. Like the shit hits people differently. Like, you know, it's just it's magic like that. You know, you can connect to a story so much that you will cry to like an inanimate object. Like that's crazy. Like that's a
and then
testament to their storytelling.
then you have Ray Fiennes in the background. You're an inanimate fucking object.
And talking about One Piece real quick, I just I want to bring up something that I saw this the other day, and I thought, oh my god, Alex would probably love this.
Oh, I still need to send you a picture.
It's a
I don't know
TikTok
if you had
clip.
already.
Check this out. Ice Show
God.
Speed. He has a like $100,000 setup.
Coming in.
Secret room. I love this idea.
Oh, he's got the legit green
Oh,
screen.
he's a One Piece fan.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
He's a giant Luffy over his bed. Did you see his setup? Look.
Yeah, he's got the Jolly Roger.
Welcome
So cool, dude.
to my new gaming room.
100 G's, bro.
Hey,
I saw that and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Very cool, very cool. We were talking about Demon Slayer. Did you see they released a new trailer for the movie coming out next year? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to check it out, but I'm very much excited for it. I started like reading the manga for it just to kind of see what's going on ahead of things.
I haven't watched it either. Do you want to watch it now?
Sure.
Let's react together.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Could make for a good clip. We'll see.
Oh yeah.
私は
Oh god, hang on. Sorry. Full screen. Well, the full screen. Oh, here we go.
Full screen.
Yeah, we go. You can hear it okay, yeah?
私は
Oh yeah. Sounds perfect.
永遠が何か知っている。私が好きなものは不変。完璧な状態で永遠に変わらないこと。君は永遠を夢見ている。
Oh no, your quality went down.
It just dropped all the way down. Sorry, let me go back a little bit. What the hell just happened?
ものは不変。完璧な状態で永遠に変わらないこと。君は永遠を夢見ている。不滅を夢見ている。
That was such a crazy scene, dude.
Oh yeah.
永遠というのは人の思いだ。人の思いこそが永遠であり不滅なんだよ。
Boom.
It's good timing, man.
Yeah, it was cool. Good use of the bells.
霞の呼吸死の型
主の呼吸蝶の舞
蛇の呼吸一の型
恋の呼吸五の型
水の呼吸三の型風の呼
They were
吸
trying so hard to
七の
get
型
up there.
日の神神楽
Yeah. Running for their lives.
両型ザ
Oh, I was like, holy shit.
Oh yeah, they were absolutely letting on us.
これで私を追い詰めたつもりか
He's probably my
貴様
favorite.
らがこれから行くのは地獄だ
Oh,
目
which one?
障りの鬼狩りども
I'm gonna turn it down a bit. It's very loud. The dude with the pig head. What's his name?
Oh, Inosuke.
Yeah, Inosuke. Yeah, he's my favorite. And there was no new footage in that at all. That was annoying. I hate when trailers do that.
No,
They-
well,
they
no,
put
like
anything
you
in, nothing
can't. You can't. It's like you're going to get spoiled the moment you start it.
Wow.
Like I read the manga immediately as soon as you start. Like it's
Shit hits the fan.
Yeah, everything just goes insane.
Wow. That's crazy. Just
good,
before
though.
we get out of here, just before we get out of here as well, actually, I saw they released a trailer as well for Invincible season 3. Let's just throw this one on.
Sure.
Over the last 90 days, Mark's speed has increased 65%, his endurance 70%, and his strength 138%.
Fuck me! Way to make a fellow superhero feel inadequate. Glad it's not leg day.
You feel like trying out those new muscles of yours?
Sir, we have intense geological events all over the country.
Are you working with D.A. Sinclair? He turned people into monsters.
You don't waste people like that. You reform them. You killed Angstrom Levy. Should I lock you up too?
You know that was different.
Mark, we can be the good guys, or we can be the guys that save the world. We can't be both.
He had to kill
Dun
Angstrom.
dun dun.
Kid Omni-Man is here!
He told me the
Oh, brilliant.
Oliver.
Cecil, I can never trust you with either
Oh, dude, he gets crazier.
no matter what.
Nice.
Ouch.
Oliver, you gotta look out for other people.
You guys are in big trouble!
Oh, you want to call for help? Too bad.
You're
Oh
outnumbered.
shit, which one's the clone?
Out of
Yeah.
luck.
And now I say something.
With you on our side, we can win this war. I'm not on anyone's side. I disgraced my people. So help me, Mark, and whatever that other kid's name is, stop the Empire.
What are you hiding?
Oh shit.
The White Room is for my protection.
Protection from what?
From you, Mark.
Is that all you got?
Oh.
I will never work for you again. We're done.
It's time for a change.
In more ways than one.
You look amazing!
I don't know.
Looks pretty good.
A little serious.
It's a little too serious, but like I like it.
Woo.
It's prime colors.
Yeah. Yeah, literally. That's cool, dude. That's cool.
Yeah, I just watched the season 1 trailer for the first time because I never watched the first season trailer.
Mm.
And I got to tell you, man, that trailer is really good at not telling you anything that happens.
There's no way. Like the twist at the end of episode 1 is what grabs people into that show. Like I think if they didn't do that, like that's always the selling point I find. Like if anybody is ever, if like, you know, if I ever ask anybody like, oh, did you watch Invincible? Like, it's like, no. It's like, well, hang on a sec. Just watch the first episode and text me after you finish episode 1. And everyone has the same reaction. It's like, holy shit, I can't believe the end of that episode. And that just gets the hooks in you and you're in. Like, so I've never seen the trailer either. I just watched episode 1 and again, same thing. I just didn't know what was coming. Just got absolutely smacked in the face with the end of that episode. And I was like, holy shit, next episode, please.
Yeah.
And it just
Well,
went,
like,
went from there. Just went from there.
The season 1 trailer, like just as like in a nutshell, basically makes it look like Mark doesn't get his powers until like way later. And then it also makes it look like Omni-Man is still a good person.
Of course, yeah. can't have that fucking flip.
And
oh god, dude.
Yeah, dude. And then they don't show any sort of blood or gore.
Wow.
Or no, they show blood, but they just don't show any gore. They don't make it look like it's an
points out and shit.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like it does a really good job of setting it up so that when you get into that first episode, you're gonna be like, what the fuck just happened? What the and then just like then you're invested. You know, you're just watching it.
Yeah, absolutely. I might end it for the week here, man. We've kind of anything that I wanted to bring up, we've got kind of sorted. You're not around this coming weekend, right? You're on call this weekend. if I'm not mistaken.
Um,
15th.
15th. No, that's next week.
So you're
Like the
not
the
around
following week.
the
Yeah,
22nd.
from the 22nd.
Oh, okay. So we're sitting down next week then. Okay, cool. That's great. Guys, if you're still watching or if you're listening to us, appreciate everybody hanging out. If you could hit the subscribe button, smash a like on the video, all that beautiful stuff, and we'll see you for episode 152 next week. Take it easy, guys.
Later.
Bye.